Well, thank you all for joining this morning. My name is Zayn Kalyan, CEO and Director of Scorpio Gold. Scorpio, as Arlen highlighted, has two projects in the Walker Lane Trend of Nevada. The company has been around since 2009, produced nearly 300,000 ounces from 2011 to 2017. And more recently, we've has gone through a restructure, recapitalization. That was closed in February of this year. Myself joining as CEO as a part of that transaction. We've been very fortunate to bring a very strong very strong new set of investors to the table, as well as building a really great technical team over the past 6 months. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about this new approach, the new management team. I'll then work into what we're working on in terms of a new resource at our Manhattan project, which has been the renewed focus for the company. And then beyond that, the ultimate opportunity to build something much larger at Manhattan. And finally, I'll talk a little bit about our what I'll call was formerly the flagship project to the company and has since then become a little bit more of a ancillary project. That said, there is some very exciting cash flow opportunities with Mineral Ridge, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So just to kind of go over the team, myself, CEO and director of the company, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of support from some very strong technical advisors who are not only supporting the company technically, but also as investors and bringing in their network into the company. Harrison Pokrant is our VP of Exploration. He joined the company after 10 years with B2 Gold, has a very strong background in mining, as does his family. Thomas Petrias is our Chief Geologist. A lot of experience in preparing resources, doing technical reporting, and then on-site geology, and has been driving our drill program. Harrison and Thomas have been driving our drill program at the Manhattan project for the past 6 months. Daniel Coons, his very extensive background in the mining space, was the CEO of Ivanhoe Mines for 8 years, and more recently was the founder, CEO, and chairman of Prime Mining. That has had a lot of success with their Los Reyes project in Mexico. And Charles Funk has also been an instrumental part of the company as well, not only as a technical advisor, but also from a strategic standpoint in terms of capitalization of the company, and really does see a lot of potential with our assets. As I did say, the company has recently gone through a restructure, recapitalization that we closed in February of this year. We raised $6 million in February at about $11 million post-money valuation. More recently, we did a small $2.5 million raise it was about 3 weeks ago at the end of September. On the back of that financing, we were very fortunate to have a lot of participation from the existing shareholders in that financing as well. And we did it without a warrant, basically at the market price, which I think was a very good commitment to the belief that this company has a lot of upside potential, with investors taking 4-month hold paper at the same prices where they could buy it in the market, free trading. Beyond that, the company has 130 million shares outstanding currently, trading today around 15-16 cents. So yeah, you can do the math there. So I encourage everyone to, if you want to learn a little bit more about the history of Scorpio and kind of take a look at the production history as well as the history of the projects, you can dive in a little bit more in the investor presentation that's available on our website. In sum, we have 2 projects in the Walker Lane Trend, Nevada. Our core project being Manhattan, which is the combination of two assets, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then Mineral Ridge, which is located about 100 kilometers from Manhattan as the crow flies. Either project are about 100 kilometers on either side of Tonopah, Nevada, being kind of the center of the Walker Lane district. So Manhattan really is the combination of 2 projects. You have the Goldwedge Underground, which is Scorpio has held since 2011. It has a 450 ton per day permitted gravity mill. And then in 2021, Scorpio was able to consolidate a significant part of the district with the acquisition of the Manhattan mine from Kinross. Echo Bay had formerly mined Manhattan from 1981 to 1991, and Kinross did an extensive amount of work from 1991 till about 2021, when Scorpio was able to acquire it. And in that 30 years, did a extensive amount of work across the project, which really drove what we saw as an opportunity to really take on Scorpio and really drive the company forward. Ultimately, we're working towards a 2 million ounce resource at the Manhattan project. We are basing that on over 1,200 drill holes, over 100,000 meters of historic drilling that's been done. The most recent drilling was obviously published. Some of those findings were published today from the campaign that we ran from May until September of this year. We are currently in the process of setting up phase 3 of that drill program, which will further expand the resource, with the ultimate goal of further expanding that resource. We are working towards putting out a maiden resource later, or in late January 2025, so in the coming months. And that will really be the baseline on which we build towards 2 million ounces. And we hope to provide further guidance on what the size of that resource will look like publicly in the coming weeks and months. Just to give some context as to where Manhattan is, we are located 10 miles south of Round Mountain on the same caldera. Where we're seeing a lot of significant mineralization is where the Reliance Fault, which controls the mineralization at Manhattan, meets this Manhattan caldera. And ultimately, we do believe that there is a real district scale opportunity. You have a lot of, call it million-ounce deposits in the Walker Lane Trend in Nevada, but very few of them have the infrastructure that we have, the water rights. That's our 400 ton per day mill alongside the water rights, the permitting. We have a permitted underground, as well as having a real shot at building something that's bigger than 1 million ounces. We're in a district where we have over almost nearly 5,000 hectares, which we've recently extended with a staking campaign that we announced a couple weeks ago. And beyond that, Kinross had done a lot of work across not only where we've modeled this kind of initial resource in the core of these patented claims, but also beyond that, where there's multi-element soil sampling analysis that's been done alongside even some historic drilling done in 2015. So ultimately, we really do believe that this has the opportunity to be something much larger, and really that district scale opportunity is something that we think is compelling in the market, especially where gold is today. And as companies start to look at Manhattan, or start to look at Nevada, and start to look at how they can kind of add ounces to their balance sheet and ultimately work towards larger production numbers, we really do feel that Manhattan is a really great shot. There's a lot of million-ounce deposits, but there's very few Manhattans where you really have this shot at 2+ million ounces at significant grade. This just kind of gives an overview of the current drill holes and the grade shells that we're working towards our resource model that will be out, as I said, in January. I encourage you, if anyone wants to kind of dive in further on a more technical basis, our team's always available to walk through this. You can also find all of these slides on our website. So I often like to pause here just to kind of talk about what our near-term milestones and catalysts are. Obviously, we have put drill results out today. We'll be putting out the rest of the campaign in the coming weeks. But beyond that, we are ultimately working towards this resource in January, which will be the re-rate, which we project will be the re-rate of the business company, and really will be the opportunity to drive the company forward. But beyond that, I do often like to kind of pivot a little bit to Mineral Ridge here, just to kind of give an overview of the project. When people think of Scorpio, they typically are thinking of Mineral Ridge. And really, as a company, our focus has been Manhattan. But that said, we do feel that there's near-term value extraction opportunity with Mineral Ridge. The project is located in the Clayton Valley, adjacent to one of the only producing lithium mines in North America, or in the US. Mineral Ridge has an extensive history. Scorpio's produced, as I said, nearly 300,000 ounces over the past 15 years at Mineral Ridge. But alongside that, there is still a reserve of 250,000 ounces in fresh ore, alongside 100,000 ounces in the existing leach pad infrastructure. When the mine went to care and maintenance in 2017, Scorpio did a feasibility study to build a 4,000 ton per day mill, which would allow them to get 90+ % recovery, which was necessary to make money at $1,200 gold, which is primary driving reason the mine went into care and maintenance in the first place. However, and so in 2018 at $1,200 gold, it was a $35 million capex with a $35 million NPV. Today, this is north of $100 million NPV on the existing 250,000 ounce resource. And but the capex has also increased to about $60 million. That said, there is obviously positive economics, but it is still a little small to invest 60 million for 250,000 ounces. That said, given the recent appreciation in the gold price and kind of where the market is today, we have identified that there is a significant opportunity to put the existing heap leach infrastructure back into production with a very modest investment. And when we say modest, I'm talking $5 to $10 million US to get the mine restarted on the existing heap leach. And that really is the ultimate opportunity. We're talking about producing somewhere between 50 and 80,000 ounces in a very short amount of time, less than 12 months, with a very modest investment, which would provide some significant NPV on that number, and would be free cash flow that would enable the company to further explore not only Manhattan and really drive the value creation there, but ultimately even expand the resource at Mineral Ridge, which could parlay into ultimately building the mill and unlocking more value. Mineral Ridge does have some exploration opportunity, which really is kind of the ultimate prize there. There's the North Star target, which is along strike with the mine. It's never been drilled. However, there's been a lot of kind of geologic assessment of the project, as well as some high-grade sampling that's been done along strike, and has definitely driven. So we do have current drill permitting there, as well as targets that we do hope to drill next year. This is just some imagery of the infrastructure that we have at Manhattan. This is the 400 ton per day mill alongside the West Pit, where you can see this Reliance fault running through the West Pit. This, again, I can never really kind of drive this home, but really the ultimate differentiator of Scorpio compared to other companies in the Waterker Lane is the infrastructure that we have, not only at Manhattan, but also at Mineral Ridge. We have a fully permitted assay lab, ADR plants, refinery alongside these past producing pits. And in today's market, with a 250,000 ounce reserve, kind of multi-million ounce opportunity at Manhattan that's clearly defined, and all the infrastructure, water rights, and permitting that we feel is necessary to really drive these projects home, really sets us apart and really does kind of drive home the concept that we're undervalued in today's market. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions with that.
I do want to talk about your drill program a bit. So you were infill drilling, I guess, between the underground and the old pits?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And do you anticipate some more, like, that's where you've been focusing your drilling on this program?
Yeah. So with the 1,200 drill holes that we've had historically, 90% of that drilling is RC. And the drill results go back quite far. So part of the goal of the program this year was really is twofold. One was to do some step out, as well as ultimately connect the two deposits, one being the Goldwedge and Manhattan. These two deposits have never been owned by the same company, so we really did feel that there's an opportunity to put them together. And ultimately with that, there's a lot of indication that that's where a lot of the mineralization near those pits could be found. So that was one goal, was connecting the two deposits. And then two was effectively what I call confirmation drilling. So following up a lot of those intercepts and structure that were identified by the RC programs with diamond, to really be able to kind of confirm our understanding of the resource.
Mm-hmm. And then what percentage was done through core or RC on this program? Do you know?
This was all 100% core on this program.
This is still 100% core.
Yeah. Okay. And moving forward, with the next campaign, it likely will be a combination of RC and core. There's infill that we can do with RC, as well as kind of continue to develop more structure with core as well.
Yeah. And then, so can you talk a little bit more about consolidating the district a little bit?
Yeah.
I saw that you picked up a bunch more land, and so why there?
Yeah. So Kinross, when we took over the project from Kinross, we inherited over 4 terabytes worth of data, and that was a lot of call it geophysics, soil sampling analysis, including even there's 18 drill holes that were done outside the claim package as well. So there's a lot of data to kind of chew through, and ultimately that drove us to expand our claim holdings, one. But really, we do see this mass opportunity to kind of consolidate the entire district. It is kind of never been consolidated by one company, and currently we have about 75% of it. We're working towards getting that other 25%, which would really give us that district scale opportunity in a shot, call it at north of 2 million ounces.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And So like we were just listening to the Caliber story, and they had that they funded a lot of their exploration through that cash flow. And it looks like that you're in a very good situation because of your permits on both the projects to kind of take that model forward. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think with the infrastructure that we have at both projects, Mineral Ridge is probably a little bit nearer term in terms of low-hanging fruit, but with the infrastructure we have at both projects, the mill at Manhattan and the permitted heap leach at Mineral Ridge, we do feel that there is value extraction opportunities that are very near term that would allow us to non-dilutively really push Manhattan forward as a focus. So
Hmm.
I like to say that Manhattan is probably $10 million away from really being kind of at or being worth significantly more than where it is today. Call it north of $300 million in value. And being able to get there as non-dilutively as possible is really kind of the differentiator from a lot of companies in a kind of similar state as us, like junior gold companies at late stage exploration.
Hmm. Some questions about the terms on the Kinross deal.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate to have all of the data that Kinross had kind of consolidated over 30 years at Manhattan, including the divestiture report. There's probably two core reasons there are two core reasons why Kinross ultimately decided to divest of the asset. One was that the ore type was different than Round Mountain, so it wouldn't work with the Round Mountain mill, so it wasn't it wasn't a low-hanging fruit for them. And in 2020, when they did make the final decision to sell the project, they were in a process of divesting of non-core assets in North America. So it was very fortunate for Scorpio. And ultimately, you really did need both projects to make it work. And Scorpio and Kinross have gone back and forth a number of times to try and acquire the other project. And in the end, it just made more sense with where Kinross was at from a corporate strategic standpoint. It just made more sense for Scorpio to acquire it, and that was ultimately where it went.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so a relatively educated person could, look at that 100,000 meters of drilling and put sort of back of the napkin number on their, their own numbers. I'm not going to ask you what you're trying to get, but like this is really close to this huge deposit from Kinross, same caldera, just on the south side. Does this thing have that multi-million ounce potential? Like geological structures up there potentially?
I don't want to bite my tongue, but I would say that from my personal perspective, the technical team that's involved in the company, we wouldn't have been able to build the technical team that we've built thus far, and we wouldn't have been able to kind of finance this project if we really didn't believe that we were chasing something significantly bigger than 1 million ounces, I guess is how I'd put it.
Hmm. So what you've done is breathe some life into this thing, recapitalize it, restructured, put a new geological approach to this story moving forward, I guess.
Yeah, I think Scorpio historically has been plagued by a focus on small scale mining. Ultimately, that's probably what kind of forced the Mineral Ridge mine into care and maintenance in 2017. I think ultimately our technical team is approaching this project from first principles geologic standpoint. We're trying to build significant resource so that when you do get mining, once you do start mining and make that decision to start mining, you're not constantly chasing grade, and you have a lot less risk associated with kind of waning grade, which is what ultimately put the mine into care and maintenance.
Hmm. Hmm. What keeps you up at night, Zane?
I think as with anything in junior mining, it's capital is king. If you can continue to raise money and continue to finance these projects as non-dilutively as possible, you can have success. We're very fortunate to have a very strong investor base, who are very focused on the success of these assets. And I think if you have that with that team, we're set up really well. Having continued appreciation in the gold price definitely helps, and I think that's brought a lot more focus to the market and a lot more attention. And ultimately, I think they'll start to trickle down, and we're starting to see kind of the early days of that. And ultimately, I think we're in a good position to really drive the company forward. And I would just say there's macro risk with everything, but I think we're well positioned to succeed here as the market starts to kind of turn around.
Hmm. And then like, what are you seeing in Nevada right now? Like,
Yeah, like I think that's an interesting question. I think Nevada is very I'd say that there's not been the same level of attention from the market like you saw Nevada King's results yesterday, like which were amazing. Like I think it's very overlooked at the moment, and being called in the top 3 mining jurisdictions of the world as rated by the Fraser Institute, constantly kind of jostling between positions 3 and 1. I think it does present an opportunity for investors. Is a lot of these assets and companies like Scorpio are still significantly undervalued, and I think Nevada is going to be one of those premier jurisdictions as the market starts to turn. We're very fortunate to have a very good permitting, and like a lot of infrastructure. But even for other companies that are earlier in the cycle and maybe don't have that permitting yet, Nevada is a great place to work. And working with the BLM, working with the Forest Service, like we're still fortunate in a much better position than many other jurisdictions. And ultimately, I think that investors are going to start to kind of wake up and look for U.S. assets, which will have a lot of value in the market.
You just closed some money at 12 cents a share with no warrant in this market. Can I ask, like, how? Obviously, good shareholders.
Yeah, good shareholders. I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I often like to say there could be, and maybe I'm even overstating this, but there could be 1,000 great assets in the world, great mining assets in the world, but only less than 50 of them are going to succeed, because you really do need to build the right investor base around them. And I think we're very fortunate to have a lot of kind of high net worth mining entrepreneurs, mining investors who've had a lot of success. They easily recognize great assets. And that's not to say there's plenty of great assets out there that have no access to capital, and because of that, they won't succeed. But we're very fortunate to be in a great spot with that.
Yeah. And then how far does this money take you? And where does
So this will take us through to resource early next year, getting that main resource out on Manhattan. On the back of that, we obviously do hope that we'll be able to kind of get a re-rate in the market and raise more capital, more equity. But alongside that, we have a lot of near-term potential with non-dilutive funds from the mill and Mineral Ridge, and we're actively working on those initiatives as well.
Well, I do think that's what separates you from a lot of those other Nevada plays, is you don't have 3-4 years of permitting in front of you.
Exactly.
And, we don't know where gold's going to be in 4 years from now. I certainly think it's going to be higher, but we don't know, right? So being able to capitalize on that, I think, puts you in a really good spot.
For sure.
Yeah, right on. No more questions from the audience. Zayn, great job. Best of luck. We'll keep a close eye out for the rest of those results as they come out. When are you looking to hope to get those out?
In the next 2 weeks. So we're just kind of waiting. We're waiting on assays. QA QC takes a little bit of time, but yeah, I would say the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should have the next round of results out.
Yeah. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but you're doing a technical presentation on the drilling.
Yes. So Harrison Pockrent, our VPX, will be doing a technical presentation next week. And I believe October 28th. And yeah, we encourage anyone who wants to kind of dig in more on what the focus of the drilling was, the results that we've gotten thus far, and really kind of the opportunity to work towards this multi-million ounce deposit looks like.
Right on. Thanks for your time, Zayn.
Perfect. Thank you.